I don't know what's up with it today, man.
Oh, man.
I'm on here, though.
All right.
Fight through it.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll clean you up no matter what happened. All right. We get started. Welcome back to the NIL podcast, Name, Image, and Legends. I'm your host, Jermaine Dixon, here with my brothers, Levance Fields and Gary McGee. Before we get started, big shout out to Reddy for supporting the NIL podcast. Make sure to use code NIL20 at your checkout on teamready.com to save 20% on your order. Tonight, we got a special guest in the building. He was a standout guard at Duke, a 4-year starter, team captain, all-ACC performer, also played in the 1994 National Championship game. After his playing days, he built a coaching resume across every level of college basketball at VCU, Oklahoma, Duke, and now the University of Pittsburgh. He coached elite talent, led programs, built relationships, and now he's leading Pitt basketball through this new era of NIL, the transfer portal, and college hoops. Welcome, Jeff Capel, to the NIL podcast.
Fellas, what's happening?
What's going on?
Coach, what's up, man? What up, Coach? Thanks for pulling up.
Hey,
Appreciate you.
I'm happy to have you on here, Coach.
Well, I appreciate that, man. You guys making me feel old, but I'm good.
All right, get started. You come from your basketball pedigree is big time. When did you start? When did you realize basketball was for you?
You know, to be honest with you, it's all I've really ever known. You know, from as early as I can remember, I've been around the game. My father was a high school coach when I was little, and I was his ball boy. And I was probably one of the worst ball boys ever because all I wanted to do was shoot. Timeouts, halftime, I try to jump in the layup line. You know, one of my fondest memories is being on the bus with my dad's team, especially after a big win. Back then, you got to think this is the early '80s, man. So it's the boom box, it's Africa Bambaataa, you know what I mean? And just that was just I've always been around it.
So, with that being said, you being a coach's son, how hard was it for you?
You know, there was some parts that were hard because there was an expectation that I would just play and that I would be good. And then when it got to a point where I was pretty good, probably more so, my dad, when I was in 6th grade, became an assistant coach at Wake Forest. That was his first college job. And so everyone just kind of thought I would be good. And when they saw I was pretty good, it's only because of your dad. So I dealt with a lot of that. You know what I mean? I dealt with a lot of, you know, he's not really that good. He's getting all the hype because of his pops. You know, my dad was at Wake 6th through 8th grade. And then he got his first head job at Division II, historically black university. When I moved back to Fayetteville, which is where I'm from, 9th grade was still junior high. You didn't start high school in 10th grade. And so there was a big thing when I came back there, like, where am I going to go to high school the next year? The first time I ever played against anybody my age was when we moved back to Fayetteville, and I was in junior high, and I played on our junior high team. And so I had some pretty good numbers. So it became this big thing of where I was going to go to high school. So I've just always loved the game. And for me, I've always loved being a part of a team. That's like, it's a sacred thing to me. It always has been. It always will be.
Was that the point that you realized that you had some with basketball, that I'm really good at this? Like, I can really take this somewhere?
Yeah, it was probably the summer going to 9th grade. You know, my dad had just, you know, the coaching staff at Wake Forest had just gotten fired. And that summer, I came up to 5-star camp, actually at Robert Morris. One of the assistants at Wake Forest, Coach Wainwright, brought me up with him. And look, I'm a country boy, man. I'm from Fayetteville, North Carolina. And so I didn't start playing AAU until like 8th grade. And so when I came up to 5-star and I made the underclass all-star game, that's when I knew, okay, there's something here. When I moved back to Fayetteville, I didn't realize every day for like 2 years, I was playing against a pro. My dad had a guy on his team at Fayetteville State named Daryl Armstrong, who ended up playing about 13 years in the NBA. He's the only player to ever be most improved and NBA Sixth Man of the Year in the same season. So every day I was playing against them. And when I started kind of holding my own against my dad's guys at Fayetteville State, 'cause they were pretty good, then I knew, okay, I think I can go somewhere with
That wrong song.
Yeah, that's tough.
NBA.
So recruiting, how did you end up going to Duke? Or what was your, then it was always your 5 schools. What were your 5 schools and how did you end up choosing Duke?
Yeah, well, once I knew or kind of felt like I was pretty good, growing up in North Carolina, you want to play in the ACC. That's what I wanted to do. That was my dream. The summer or around my 10th grade year. So first of all, I was a huge Carolina fan.
Okay.
When I was growing up, and most kids in North Carolina during that time in the 80s, early 90s, you were Carolina. Jordan, Worthy, J.R. Reed. I can go through all of them. I had Carolina posters all over my wall. As I got older, though, and I started to understand recruiting for me, one of the things that was big for me was I wanted, if I was good enough, to have a chance to play a lot as a freshman. I didn't want, to have to wait my turn just for an upperclassman. I mean, I'm cool with that, but if I'm, beating this dude out every day, like I wanted
You
to be able
deserved
to
it.
go.
Yeah.
And so at the beginning of my junior year of high school, I narrowed my list of 4 schools. And it was Duke, North Carolina, Virginia, and NC State. But probably it was always Duke and Carolina. Carolina was the first ACC school to offer. At the end of my 10th grade year, I went up to Duke for an unofficial visit. And I spent maybe half a day. In the last hour, I spent with Coach K. And when we were driving home, it was my dad, my younger brother, and my high school coach. And when we were driving home, I was kind of quiet, which was very odd for me around my family. And after about 10 minutes, my dad was like, yo, like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, that's the guy I want to play for. And it was in that moment that Coach K reminded me so much of my dad. Military background, no nonsense. Like, you knew the truth. Like, you didn't have to guess. And what he told me was that if you're good enough, like, I'm not going to promise you playing time, but if you're good enough and you beat people out, like, I'll play you.
Yeah.
And for me, that's all I needed to hear.
So I hear you name a lot of UNC players. I was gonna ask you who was some of the other players you watched in college before you went.
Well, again, strictly all ACC. But I watched all of college basketball. So if you go from the ACC in the 80s, man, I love Johnny Dawkins. I love Len Bias. Obviously, I mentioned some of the Carolina guys, Corciani and Monroe and NC Fire and Ice. But then, man, globally, like I love Billy Owens at Syracuse.
Hey.
I thought he was like the coolest dude in the world. I love Georgetown. I mean, I thought Georgetown was a black college. With Coach Thompson and all those teams. I remember the PITT teams in the 80s with Charles Smith and Jerome Lane and Sean Miller and those guys. So I was just a huge fan of basketball. Like I fell in love with it with a really, really early age. And I could tell you at that time the stats of just about every player, every league. I mean, I was really, really into it.
So how was it once you arrived on campus at Duke? How was that experience getting there as a freshman, getting to the workouts and playing for Coach K?
Yeah, it was awesome, man. I mean, everything is so different back then. You didn't go to summer school, so I didn't go there until the end of August. Back then, you had no individual workouts. That rule didn't come in until my senior year. So we did nothing with our coaches from the end of August. I think we started practice October 15th. All at Duke at the time, all you had to do for conditioning is make the mile in 6 minutes. If you did it the first week, then you didn't have to do it again. So we played pickup every day. And then I was fortunate. I had two great seniors who I just did whatever they did, I went with them. And that was Grant Hill and Antonio Lane. So if they went and ran the golf course, I went and ran the golf course. If they went and ran the stadium steps, I did that. If they went and ran on the track, whatever they did, I did. So it was really cool from that standpoint.
So, Coach, you again answered some that I was going to ask you. How was it to play with a guy like Grant Hill being your senior? He was already a star. You coming in as a freshman. How was that?
It was incredible. I mean, one of the reasons I chose Duke was to have the opportunity to play for him. I had become a huge Grant Hill fan from the time he became a freshman at Duke. And to have a chance to play with him and to see how good he was and how easy he made the game for all of us. It was interesting because Grant had won 2 national championships, but I think he was extremely motivated to try to win one without Leitner and Hurley. And so it was interesting. Grant probably was averaging, man, around 19, probably around 19, 8 rebounds, about 6 assists. But his 2 main competitors for National Player of the Year were Jake Kidd, who was a sophomore, and Glenn Robinson. And so Glenn Robinson was leading the country in scoring and rebounding. And so I remember, years later, when Grant was in the NBA, we were talking one day, and I was with Grant and his dad. And Grant was saying how early that season, his dad would tell him, like, yo, man, like, you need to score. Like, Big Dog's averaging 30. And Grant's thing was, I need to get Jeff and Chris Collins, who was my backcourt mate, I need to get them confidence. So I need to get them going. And so for him to be able to be that good to think like that, and then you fast forward, we're playing in the regional finals to go to the Final Four. We're playing Purdue. It's the matchup everyone wanted to see, Grant Hill, Glenn Robinson. And with about 9 minutes left in the second half, we were up 3 or 4. Grant picks up his 4th foul. So you got to put him on the bench. And for the next 5 minutes until the under 4 timeout, we played some of the best basketball that we played. And all of that was because of what he did for us early in the year.
That's dope. Now, speaking of that, so your freshman year, you played in the national championship game as a freshman. That's big time. Obviously, y'all took a tough loss. But how was that experience? How did that experience shape you early in your career?
It was surreal. The Final Four was in North Carolina.
I know.
I'm a North Carolina guy. I grew up there. So the Final Four was 2.5 hours from my home. Ironically, it's the last Final Four that wasn't in a dome. And so we were right in the Charlotte Coliseum where the Hornets played, the old Coliseum. And it was just surreal. I mean, to be in the semifinals, we were down probably about 14-15 in the second half to Florida. And literally for the rest of the game, we just went 1-4 flat for Grant. And I hit a big 3, a little bit over a minute left to give us a 2-point lead. And then we took a charge and we won the game. In the championship game, it's probably the most surreal game that I've ever played in because it seemed like everything was slow motion. I don't remember hearing anything. And obviously that Arkansas team was great. Summer before my freshman year, I played in the U.S. Olympic Festival.
Oh, okay.
And one of my teammates was Scotty Thurman.
Mm.
And he
Wow.
talked trash the whole time we were there in San Antonio. And so to be able to play them in the finals and to play him,
Pretty cool.
and I remember, man, we get to the second half. I hit a three, and it put us up by 10. They called timeout. And I remember running to the bench. I jumped in one of my teammates' arms. I sat down, and I looked up, and I was like, holy, you know what? Like 17 minutes left.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, man, like 3 minutes later, we're down 10. So they hit us with one of those runs. You know, we come back. Grant hits a three to tie it with a little bit over a minute left. We have a great defensive possession. I cut Corey Beck off. He drives left baseline, cut him off dead. He spins, throws it out, and Dwight Stewart fumbles it. And it kind of goes to half court. He grabs it and throws it to Scotty. And he shoots a three. And my boy, Tony Lang, almost blocks it. And I'm standing under the basket because I'm still there because Corey Beck never moved. So I could see it. And it looked good the whole way. And he makes it.
Oh, man.
Tough.
And I'll tell you, man, I thought about it. I never won one as a player. So you got to think, that was the 7th time in 9 years Duke had been to the Final Four. And so I'm thinking like, all right, well, we'll get back.
You're going to get back. Uh-huh.
And I never got close again.
Yeah.
So
I could tell how it still hurts to this day.
still hurts.
That's how we feel, right? You just don't forget it. You don't forget
The
it.
moments.
I mean, like, it's funny how you remember those things probably more than the great stuff that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So going into the next year, Grant Hill's gone. Now you're taking over more of a leadership role. How was that?
You know, it was interesting, man. My time at Duke was Duke is not real as a basketball player. It's like a fantasy, like it really is. The thing I appreciate during my 4 years is that I dealt with some real shit. Excuse my language.
Mm-hmm.
We played for the national championship my first year. My second year, I was on the worst team ever at Duke. That was the year Coach K went out in January. We were 2-14 in the conference and 13-18 overall. And as you guys can imagine, like that was rough. That was really, really hard.
Yeah, sure.
I got hurt that summer going to my sophomore year. They misdiagnosed my injury. They were treating me for a hamstring injury when the reality of what I had was a bulging disc in my back.
Oh.
So I didn't really get a chance to work like I wanted to that summer. And so it was just it was a very difficult year. At one point, like 7 games in a row. And it wasn't like we played one game that year, man, when Coach went out, where we got kicked. Like we were at UCLA. You know, it was like a 6-point game. I came out the game at like right before the under 8 timeout. And in like 6 minutes, we were down 25. It was like that 25-point basket on the old Rocking Rock MTV game.
Mm-hmm.
That was the team that won the championship with Ed O'Bannon, Toby, all those guys. But my sophomore year was a rough year. It was a really, really rough year.
Also in that year against North Carolina, is that the season you hit the half-court shot?
Yeah, I was going to say that.
That's that game, yeah. You know, it's. I mean, you guys know, you understand rivalry. Like they always talk about, it doesn't matter the records. That year was the epitome of that.
Mm-hmm.
If you go back and you watch that game early, you know that and they play it all the time. That dunk Stackhouse had. I had just come out the game. I think when he dunked it and got the and one, man, I think it made it like 24-7. And I remember on the sideline thinking, like, this is the best team I've ever seen in my life. And then we went up and we took the lead, and, you know, we get to overtime, and I make that shot. I fouled out. First play, the second overtime on a BS call. BS call, still to this day. And then we ended up losing the game.
So he,
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Lee. Go ahead.
I was going to say, now after your sophomore year, you say you're facing a low, but still you have a notorious rapper wear your jersey. How was that feeling?
It was incredible. Like, I wish I would have seen it in real time. I didn't see it. So I was the head coach at VCU when I saw it.
Wow.
So I didn't know
Oh,
it in
really?
real time. Um, yeah, I mean, it's some stuff I probably shouldn't say, maybe of how it came about. A relationship one of my teammates had with someone that was close with Pop. But I remember I was the head coach at VCU, and I'm watching the DVD, the documentary Tupac Resurrection,
Mm-hmm.
and he's being interviewed on MTV, and I saw it. And you got to think, this is like in 2002, 2003 when I saw it. So you don't have cell phones, you don't have video on your phone. So I had to like take it down to the school to like show my players and stuff like that. That was pretty amazing. Like when I saw that, I mean, one of the greatest rappers ever, one of the most polarizing figures ever in music, to be wearing my jersey. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Now, while you were playing at Duke, you were a scoring guard, but you had over 400 assists in your career. How much of playing the lead guard helped you prepare for your coaching career?
It's interesting because when I was playing, I never wanted to coach. Like my dream, like you three, and like everyone, I wanted to play in the NBA. I wanted to have a 10-plus year career. I know I had all this stuff mapped out in my head. And my dream job after being a player was to be an NBA general manager. And so when I finished my senior year, we won the league. I started out, I struggled early, but I finished really strong. And I was projected to be a late first round, early second round pick. And I'm getting ready for the Chicago pre-draft camp. And I ruptured a disc in my back, working out.
Oh, man.
And so I was out from May because I tried everything I could to avoid surgery. So I was out from May until like September, August. So obviously I don't get drafted. I went to a mini camp with the Milwaukee Bucks, but then I played my first year out of college in the CBA. They didn't have the G League, so it was the CBA. Played in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Had a really, really good year. I got healthy and was feeling athletic again and bouncy, and thought I would get a call up. It never happened. After that year, I went and I worked out. And when you're an undrafted free agent and you go to these workouts, you can find spots where they have roster spots where you can have a legit chance to make a team. And so we organized it, me and my agent. I did the Miami Heat first because that will be the hardest thing. You guys ever heard about those Miami Heat workouts? They're true. I did them. I did Chicago. And then the last one I did was Phoenix. And that was purposeful because they only had 3 guys on the contract. So it was a lot of spots. And I was out there. It was a mini camp. So I was out there for 3 days. And man, it's probably the best I've ever played in my life. And so the last day, it was June 30th, out that morning before I leave, GM called me in with Danny Ainge and it's like, look, we want to sign you. Obviously, we have Jason here. We have Rex Chapman as our guard. We're going to sign a veteran point guard back to Jason. We want you to be the backup 2 and the third point guard. But the lockout was starting the next day. So the lockout starts. Say I was going to take, a week off to allow my body to recover. I was back in the gym like 4 days, 5 days. And man, I started having this like intense stomach pain. So I'm thinking I'm just dehydrated. I'm back in North Carolina. It's July in North Carolina, so it's super hot, super humid. I'm working out at Duke. There's no AC in the gym. Something like that. And it just keeps going, keeps going. And about 2 months later, man, after all these tests, I'm diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease.
Wow.
So my whole second year out of school, I missed. I didn't play. The lockout ended, I think, in January. Phoenix called. I played at about 205. I was 165.
Shit.
Wow.
I'm still I'm
Wow.
trying to get on the plane.
You still trying to go,
Mom and dad are like, you're not healthy. And so I get healthy somewhat. The next summer, I go out to Golden State. I'm going to do summer league with them. And they want to do some imaging on my back. And they do an x-ray, an MRI. And I had bone on my spine.
On your
So they're like, if
Wow.
you take a wrong fall or whatever, like you could maybe not walk again. So I flew back to North Carolina, had surgery, back surgery, finally. And probably the biggest mistake that I made, this was sometime the second week of July. The second week of August, I'm on a plane going to France to play.
I was going to ask
I've been
you
out of school for 2 years. Yeah, I've been out of school for 2 years. I made no money. I'm living at home. I wasn't feeling great about myself, man.
You're right.
This team in France offered me like this unbelievable deal. So I go over there, but physically I can't do anything.
That's what I was going to ask you. You end up playing. So how much did you play over in France?
I mainly just practiced. Man, I think I played 2 games. I practiced, played 2 games. And it was, I mean, you guys know, man, like I could see the hole, but I couldn't hit the hole.
Yeah.
I could see the hole, but I just physically, I couldn't do it. And so I was over there maybe about a month. I hated it. I hate it probably because physically I wasn't right. I couldn't talk to anybody. I didn't speak the language. So I got cut. I came back, went back to the CBA. And it was the first time in my life, man, where I had DMPs. Like I would play well, and I may not play for 2 games, but I'd play for 3, and it was like that. And then my last game I played, I think I had like 23 in like 16 minutes. And then I didn't play the next 2 games. And they cut me for Ronnie Fields. And I come back home. My dad was the head coach at Old Dominion.
ODU.
And I said to my agent, like, hey, find me another job. Still want to play. But fellas, I had no desire to work out.
Yeah.
And so what I did was that I started going to my dad's practices. And then he would let me help. And I would work with the guards. And then I would go to the games, let me travel. And I would see like, man, this stuff I'm telling them is actually working. And that's where I got the coaching from. That's where it happened.
How long did it take you to switch off that player switch? Pretty quick.
It was hard. It was hard. I mean, the next year I got on with my dad at Old Dominion. And, there's always, when you finish playing, there's always a fine line because I still kind of wanted to play. And so I would have to watch myself in practice of getting competitive against these guys. Because I've had my time. I got to be in their moment. I have to be in their time. So it took me about a year to kind of get that out of
How different was it to being around your father as a coach than just as a dad?
It was probably my favorite year ever coaching because I got to see my dad in his element. My dad was a really, really good coach. He just didn't have the pedigree of Duke. If you look at my 4 years, I was the head coach at VCU for 4 years. If you look at my 4 years there and my dad's first 4 years at Old Dominion, it's no comparison. His was pretty much better than mine. But I had Coach K.
Yeah.
My dad started as a JV high school coach. And then he was a coach at a historically black university. At the time, my dad and Coach John Chaney were the only 2 coaches to come from HBCUs to go to, predominantly white university. And so having a chance to be there with him that year, to watch him in his element, and to see him, I had just known him as my dad. And just to kind of watch him do that, man, was really, really cool.
Did they just switch on to you? Like, I think I can do this. I could coach.
Yeah, it did. I mean, I saw the impact. I've been blessed. I played for a great high school coach, obviously a great college coach, and then I had my dad. And then when I was at Duke, the assistant coaches that I had were Tommy Amaker, who's at Harvard, Quinn Snyder, who's with the Hawks, Mike Bray, who's with the Hawks. And so I was around really good coaches and really good men. And the thing that I had from my high school coach on were people that poured into me. And so that's what I wanted to do. And so, that year I was with my dad. My dad got fired. And so I remember thinking, I got to go to this Final Four again. I got to pass resumes out. I got to do this to get a job. And it's interesting, man. And my dad just told me when I was younger, everything happens for a reason. And my grandma would always say, life can only be understood backwards, but you got to live it forward. And I would say, like, Grandma, what does that mean? And she'd say, baby, eventually it all makes sense. And when I look at my career, so my dad gets fired. I got to go pass out resumes. I get an interview at Robert Morris. I come up here. Mark Schmidt had just gotten the job. I come up and I interview, and I think I did well because he offered me the job. But that was like on a Monday. I had the interview with VCU as an assistant on Thursday. Now, the girl that I was dating, who is my wife now, we had been in a long-distance relationship. She was in law school in Connecticut. I was in France. I was in Grand Rapids. I was in Norfolk, Virginia with my pops. She had already taken a job in Richmond, Virginia, clerking for this judge. So I go interview on Thursday at VCU. The coach is like, look, I'm really impressed with you. I think you're the guy, but I promised this other guy I'm going to interview him on Monday. So now I got to make a decision. Coach at Robert Morris is like, I need an answer. So my dad is like, you need to take this Robert Morris job.
Right.
I mean, when I was my dad's assistant, I made $15,500 and had ass benefits. Robert Morris was like $42,000. I'm like the second assistant, so I'm on the road, all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I didn't take it because I'm hoping I can get VCU. And I can be around this girl that I've been dating, you know what I mean? Who I think. It's crazy. So I'm walking into her law school graduation on Sunday up at Yale, and my phone rings, and it's the guy from VCU called to offer me the job.
Wow.
Fate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like,
Fate. Yeah.
everything happens for a reason.
I was gonna say, how was it getting the offer to go to VCU, and what was your thought process now of being on your own without your father now?
Yeah, I mean, I was excited. As a basketball player and a coach, all I knew was my high school coach, Duke, and Coach K, and my dad. So I was excited to get a chance to work for someone else, to see something different and things like that. And that year was an experience at VCU because it was totally different from my dad and from Duke. I was very fortunate. I worked for a really good guy to work for in Coach Mac McCarthy. Like, he was awesome. A really good coach and a really good dude to work for. But VCU was in a tough spot. Like, they hadn't really won since the 80s. They had a couple of years when they first went to the CAA, when they left the Metro, when conferences were breaking up, and they won in 96. But they really hadn't won. And we had a talented team, but we just had a lot of it was a lot of craziness going on.
Richmond is a town. Richmond is a town.
Well, when I was there, Richmond was the murder capital.
Yes.
And right where VCU is, it was literally right down
right there, yeah.
Yeah. And so it was interesting, to say the least. And just my trajectory, man, it was just, I remember it's February, early February. I conducted study hall. So at Old Dominion with my dad, I didn't go on the road and recruit. When I was at VCU, I didn't go on the road and recruit. And so I was conducting study hall in February, and the AD came down and was like, "Hey, you got a session? Can I talk to you?" So he wanted me to come down to his office. I go down there, we're talking, and he tells me after about 10 minutes that Coach Mack and him met the day before and that Mack was going to resign at the end of the year. So my mind just starts spinning, and all I'm thinking is, I got to be at this Final Four game passing like, here we go again. And then he says, I've been watching you all year, and I talked to the president. We think you're the guy to be the next head coach.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? Like, what is going on here? And, I left. I called my girl I was dating, my wife now, and I'm like, look, I need to talk to you. I called my dad. My dad didn't believe me. And so it just started this whole thing, man. And so everything for me happened really, really fast in this business.
And
I was gonna say, how old are you at the time?
well, that's what I was gonna say.
I
27.
just turned 27.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So
I just turned 27. So I became the head coach at VCU at 27 years old.
So what was the hardest part about being that young and leading men that's, not far different in age? And did you feel a lot of pressure as a young coach?
So I felt a lot of pressure. Like, I heard everything everybody said about me. Didn't deserve the job, silver spoon in his mouth, not deserved it, hadn't paid his dues, all of those things. I heard all of it. There was a lot of pressure because I felt like I've got to get this right. Like, I've got to be good. There's no room for error because everyone's going to be expecting me to fail. I remember when the AD told me that this is what we think we want to do, and he asked me, what do you think? And I told him, I said, look, I know I don't have experience, but this is what I think coaching is. Can you get the guys to believe in you? Can you get the guys to want to fight for you? And I've always believed in my ability to do that. And that's all I tried to do. And so I'm trying to assemble a staff. That was different. I mean, look, you move over one seat or two seats, it's completely different because everything is on you. And so, yeah, I felt a lot of pressure.
It's funny you say, my bad, real quick. It's funny you say that last part. And this is just me going off. Like, I watched y'all this year, and at the end of the year, I said to these guys, I said, we didn't have the year that we wanted to have, but those guys were fighting at the end of the year for you, no matter what was going on. And obviously, we talking about all the noise that's going on around at the end of the season. But I was like, yo, they are fighting for Capel, and I love that. So you mentioning that just, made me think of that.
They did do that. I mean, it was way different. I mean, my fourth year here, we dropped the rope. And it was interesting because after that season, we had gotten killed by BC in Brooklyn in the ACC tournament. And I remember after that game, I addressed the team. I'm getting ready to go to media, and my sports information guy says, hey, when you're finished up on the big thing with all the media, do you mind going and meeting with the local guys? They're going to want to ask you about your job. And I knew that. But when he said it, man, it took me back to Oklahoma. And I don't think that was my finest moment when I met with the locals because I was answering questions and reacting from a position of defense. And I said some things. I'm not saying they were wrong what I said, but there were things I should not have said. And again, it was because I didn't know if I was going to have a job.
Right.
It wasn't like there was stuff told to me beforehand. And so once I realized it was probably after the game, say the stuff, we're on the bus on the way to the airport, and the AD texted me and was like, something, I guess, I don't even know if it was encouraging, but something about the game. And I think this was a Tuesday. And she said, hey, let's get together next week and meet. So I knew right then I'm not getting fired. Because if I was getting fired, she would have wanted to meet the next morning
Right.
or as soon as we got back. And so once that happened, man, my whole thing was like, all right, how do we turn this thing around? Like, that's my sole focus, is trying to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So after you had the success at VCU, the Oklahoma job, how did that come about? That's kind of where you had the most
That was
success.
crazy, man. Yeah, that was crazy. So my last year at VCU, I think, was the worst year that we had. And we finished, I think, tied for fourth. That was the year that George Mason went to the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first year the CAA got an at-large bid. But I knew I had my best team coming back because I had two guys sitting out that were really good, that were post players. And then that year, my last year, I had a really good freshman point guard. And so, how that came about, I had gone down to the PITT to see one of my guys at VCU was playing. And I kept getting this phone call from a 704 number. But I don't answer numbers that I don't know, and they wouldn't leave a message. And so finally, like the next day, I'm in the office and my secretary comes in and is like, hey, this guy, Dan Parker, is calling, and he's from Parker and Associates. And I'm like, what is that? It was a search firm.
Mm-hmm.
And so I call him back, and he asks me about my interest in Oklahoma. So after my second year at VCU, I was offered the job in Auburn and Miami. And I wasn't going to take Miami, but I almost took Auburn. And it was one of those situations where when I flew back from the interview from Auburn, my dad was in my driveway in Richmond. And he's like, you got to take this job. Like, the money that they're offered, and we, black coaches, don't get these chances.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to do it. And I didn't. And there was part of me that wondered if I would get this opportunity again. So I did the interview because I knew that search firms were going to be the things that I wanted to get experience with the search firm.
Mm-hmm.
And so I flew to Atlanta and met with Dan Parker and the AD. And I guess I killed it because when I was leaving, Dan Parker was like, look, we got about 3 more, but I'm sure you're going to hear back from us. This was a Thursday. And so then I get a call Saturday. Friday, they're like, hey, you should try to come up, book a flight, meet us in Atlanta on Sunday, unless you hear something different. Saturday morning, they call me and say, hey, have you booked the flight? But I haven't yet because I'm waiting. I wanted to see. They were like, yeah, well, hold off. I think we got our guy. And what happened was that John Beeline took the job from West Virginia. He took the Oklahoma job.
Mm-hmm.
But then what happened was that Oklahoma wouldn't pay his buyout. He had a large buyout.
Mm-hmm.
So he couldn't get out. So the job opened. So Sunday morning, I'm going to get, my wife and I, we're going to go to church. I get a call from the search firm. I'm thinking it's him to be like, hey, okay, well, it's over with. And then he's like, hey, can you get to Atlanta this evening?
Huh.
And I flew back. When I went back that evening, it was the athletic director, the president, and like 2-3 people from the board. And met with them that night. And then they called me Monday night and offered me the job.
Wow. Was that point guard that you was talking about, was it Eric Maynor?
Eric Maynor.
Okay.
One of the biggest regrets, biggest mistakes in my coaching career. I should have taken him to
I was going to say, was that a thought process of yours?
So listen to how I was young, I was naive, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. So I took the job in Oklahoma. I fly there for the press conference. It was the first time I ever stepped foot in the state of Oklahoma. Do all that. That's a whirlwind that day. The next day, I go in and I meet with the sport AD. That's when I realized all the penalties that they were under for NCAA violations.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when I also realized I got to pay my buyout. So they had told me they were going to pay it. But then they pulled the okie doke and were like, no, you have to pay this.
Wow.
So I'm looking at this bill like, I got to, like, this is my money. This ain't coming from the school. Like,
Right.
I got to pay this. And so VCU found out that I had to pay it. So what they did, VCU had put in my contract when I turned Auburn down, and it was genius of them, that if I left to take another job, I had to play VCU in a home and home. Because when I was at VCU, we couldn't schedule anybody. I tried to play Virginia Tech every year. Nobody would play us. The other thing they said was that we'll cut your buyout in half if you leave Maynard alone, if you don't take Maynard. And I should have just been like,
Who was
the hell with it.
Man, that was
who's the AD at VCU?
His name was Dr. Sanders, Dick Sanders. Brilliant man.
Smart man. What?
yeah, very smart.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
crazy.
the biggest regret, man. I should have taken him with me.
Nowadays, it
Yeah.
probably would have been easy to take him.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have
No
to worry
question.
about sitting
Yes.
out nothing. Right with you.
No question.
So then,
So
go ahead, Lee.
when you first get to Oklahoma, you couldn't get to the NCAA tournament? Y'all was banned from going?
No, we weren't banned. We, it's crazy when you think of it now. It's actually really stupid. Coach Sampson had gotten in trouble for phone calls.
I remember that
All
now.
the stuff we're doing now. And so I couldn't make any phone calls. When I took the job, it was April. From April until September, I as the head coach, could only go out 5 times.
Wow.
Our recruiting days were cut from 120 to 90. And then from September until April, that's the period where it's normally 120 days. I think I had 25 days I could go out. Our
Dang.
scholarships were reduced from 13 to 11. And then there was some type of probation.
This is 2007, 6, 7.
I took the job 2006-07 season was my first year.
Oh, 6, 7. Okay. So at Oklahoma, you get a player like Blake Griffin. What made Blake Griffin special at Oklahoma?
So when I took the job, it was April, and Blake was a junior in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And he was ranked somewhere in the 80s. I didn't know who he was, but I heard about on the flight on the way to Oklahoma for the press conference when they came and got me. Somebody on the plane gave me a sheet of like guys that we should be recruiting or local guys.
Mm-hmm.
And his name was on there. And I knew his brother was on the team. I had recruited Taylor a little bit when I was at VCU. And so I get the job. And maybe about 2-3 days later, I met Blake because their parents came over to meet me.
Mm-hmm.
And I met Blake. And so Blake and I would talk every day. I could still text. I just couldn't make phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
So our conversations were basically text, or I would say, hey, man, call me. But it was mainly through text.
Mm-hmm.
And so probably not the first weekend, but the next weekend is the first time I ever saw him play. So in talking to him, I had asked him, what are your goals? What do you want to do? How good do you think you are? Blah, blah, blah. And then I saw him play the next weekend in Dallas. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this. And you got to think, now you got to understand, I got 5 days I can go out from April and all the summer. So I spent one of the days going to see all the guys that Coach Sampson had signed. So Damian James, Jimmy Mayfield, Tony Crocker, Keith Clark. They were all in the first day. So they were all Oklahoma and Texas. And then the next Thursday, I flew to Virginia to see Scotty Reynolds.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was 2 days. So I only had 3 days left. So I saw Blake on that Saturday in Dallas. And I remember I texted him that night because I wouldn't go to the events on Sundays. I'm trying to preserve my days.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, I said, look, when you get back tomorrow, I need you to call me. And when he called me, I told him, I'm like, all these goals you told me, you need to change them. Blake was a small town Oklahoma guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had no idea how good he was.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw him, I knew, like, and I told him, I said, listen, I can't tell you you're the best player in your class because you're not better than Derrick Rose.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, Beasley and Kevin Love, but I can tell you they're not better than you either.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you are right there with them. You need to start thinking of yourself like
That was a great class too.
Definitely.
Yeah, great.
Well, that's 07, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know it. So once Blake Griffin arrives on campus, things start to change.
Things started to change right away. I mean, we you know, my first year we struggled. We had a winning season. I think we were 16 and 15, but we really struggled to score. We didn't shoot the ball well. When Blake came in, he was so dynamic. We were really big. And, you know, with him as a freshman, you know, him rebounding, him scoring around the basket, being efficient. I remember we had just played like our fourth game, and Blake came up to my office, you know, the next day, and he looked, you know, down. And I said to him, I was like, what's going on? What's on your mind? And he's like, Coach, I just thought, man, I thought when I got to college, like, I wouldn't get doubled anymore. And I was like, big fella, you're going to be doubled the rest of your life. Like, you better get used to this and figure out how to beat it. But it changed everything, man. Having a guy like that changed everything.
Y'all also had the guard Willie Warren.
Yep.
How was it recruiting and getting him?
So Blake's first year, again, we were really good. We made the tournament, got to the second round, got smoked by Louisville, a really good Louisville team. But once Blake was coming back, the thing that I knew, I had to get an elite level guard.
Mm-hmm.
We had solid guards, and I needed to get an elite guard. And we recruited Willie. Willie also kind of recruited us because I think he knew, you know, being with Blake, how that would be. Willie Warren had a reputation in high school that wasn't great. I remember when I got the job in Oklahoma, some of the national, like, recruiting guys were like, don't touch him. Bad attitude, bad, you know, whatever. And I got to know him, and I didn't see it. He came up for an official visit, and man, he blew everybody away. Everybody there away. And so then we get him, and we get there, and like, Willie understood his reputation too. He knew the stuff people said about him. And so we get to like our fifth game. We're getting ready to play Davidson, Steph Curry. And if we win, we go to Madison Square Garden. You're teaching at IT.
Mm-hmm.
So I said to Willie at shoot around that morning, I'm like, listen, man, I know what you're doing. Like, you're holding back. You're letting this. I brought you here to be elite. And from that point on, like, he took off. Like, I think he had like 15 in the first half of that game. And it was a great partnership with Blake and Willie because we had an elite guard and we had the best player in the country, I thought. And it just made this great dynamic for us.
That year, y'all had a great team, and y'all had a good run in the tournament. End up coming up short in Sweet 16. That was that year, Sweet 16, right?
North Carolina, right?
We got to the Elite Eight.
Elite Eight. I'm sorry. Yeah. My apologies. Elite Eight.
Sorry.
So how was that? That year, finishing that team in that game, how did you feel about that? Because I thought y'all were one of the better teams, more so under the radar because a lot of people was North Carolina, us, all the Big East teams, UConn, and I thought y'all were flying under the radar, even though Blake was obviously doing Blake.
Yeah, we were really I remember we were 25-1, and we were getting ready to play Kansas. I'm sorry, we were going to play at Texas, and somebody, I don't know if it was you guys, UConn, or Carolina, whoever was number one had lost early that day. We were ranked number 2 in the country, and it was college game day. We go to shoot around that morning, and I remember I got back to my hotel room after shoot around, and I called my wife, and I told her, we're going to beat the hell out of Texas. It was the best shoot around we had. We had beaten Texas pretty good at our place early, and that's the game where Blake got the concussion. And so we end up losing that game. Willie Warren almost single-handedly won it in the second half. Blake got the concussion 10 minutes in the first half. And he was out. At halftime, you got to carry him to the locker room. That was hard to see. And then Willie took the game over in the second half. We had the lead. He started cramping up. I had to take him out. And then, man, we blew a ball screen coverage with 50 seconds, and A.J. Abrams hit the free.
That was
to put the offense to give them the lead.
If you remember, that was in January, wasn't it?
That was late January.
Yeah. So we beat UConn. UConn was 1. We beat UConn, and then I remember y'all lost, and then somebody else lost, and I was like, oh shit, we about to jump to number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was our thing. We were going to be number 1 for the first time, and that year, I thought we were really, really good. And I thought, okay, so what I started doing, and I never really do this, but I started looking around.
Mm-hmm.
So I would watch, every now and then I'd take a peek at you guys. I'd take a peek at UConn. I'd take a peek at Carolina because I thought, okay, these are the teams. I mean, the team, and Levance, you've heard me say this. All of them have heard me say this. The team I didn't want to play was y'all. The reason why. Most of the time when we played, teams were afraid of Blake. You could see it in the warm-up line.
Mm-hmm.
When they put up, especially if it was a neutral site or if you played at our place and you put up the highlight video, I would just watch the other team. And the highlight stuff was loud of Blake. I mean, Blake jumped over guys and stuff like that. But when I would watch you guys, the thing that I would say was that I was I know they won't be afraid of him. And so you guys were the one team I was I don't know if I want to see them, in the tournament. And then when we were getting ready for the Sweet 16, we played Syracuse. And no one in the Big 12 played zone.
Yeah.
So you got the whole week to prepare. So I remember Jay Wright was a good friend. I called Jay Wright and I called Buzz Williams about, hey, man, give me some pointers on the zone. So they all said what they said, but then both of them were like, you need to watch PITT against that. PITT kills their zone. And so I watched you guys. I think it was the game where you guys played them at home.
Big Monday.
And y'all were kicking their ass.
Yeah.
And they went man.
Mm-hmm.
And they came back. And so that whole week, I'm thinking man, I hope these dudes don't play us, man. Because they can get after you. Johnny Flynn, Devendorf, they could get after you, man.
Paul
Harris.
That limp, long arm.
Yeah. I mean, you guys know, man, it's once you get to the turn, it's matchups. So in the second round, we beat Morgan State. We're going to play the winner of Michigan and Clemson. So I'm watching the game, and in my mind, I'm like, I want Michigan to win because Clemson pressed. And pressing teams gave us problems. Because my point guard was solid, really, really solid. But you could speed them up sometimes. And so if we don't get if Blake doesn't get the concussion, then I think we're a 1 seed instead of a 2. And then we avoid Carolina. That's who beat us to go to the Final Four.
So I got so You end up getting let go at Oklahoma, or parting ways. You go back to Duke with Coach K. How was it going back to Duke with Coach K and obviously winning the national title for the first time?
Yeah, it was awesome going back. Personally, on a personal level, I needed that.
Mm-hmm.
I needed love because the end of Oklahoma was really hard. So we went to the Elite Eight that year, and then the next year, which was my 8th year as a head coach, was the first losing season that I had. And we had a young backcourt talent, young. Willie Warren probably should have turned pro after his freshman year. That's another regret that I have. I probably should have told him, go ahead and go.
Mm-hmm.
He got hurt that year, which really hurt. We had started to figure out that he broke his foot. And so, but then the thing that really hurt was at the end of that season, my fourth year at Oklahoma, there were NCAA allegations. And for me, that was really hard because, to me, it was my reputation. It was my career and reputation. And that was 2010. It's the statute of limitations are over with 16 years ago. So if I would have known something, I would tell you now. I really didn't know what was going on. I found out later.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I found out, I called my AD to tell him what I just found out. And I remember he said to me, there's no need to tell me this going forward. Just go to compliance. And I remember at that moment, I called my wife and I said, they're going to try to fire me with calls.
Mm-hmm.
And so my last year and a half at Oklahoma were really, really hard. So I needed to be surrounded by love. And having a chance to go back to Duke was that. Now, it was hard, though, because I went from being a head coach for 9 years to now I'm the third assistant.
Yeah.
You're in practice, and coach would say, okay, Wojo, you got the white team. Chris, you got the blue team. Well, I'm the damn referee. Like, it was just weird. Like, I went from running a practice to now I'm the ref. I'm really trying to figure out what to do. But it was something, man, that was so necessary for me because I think what it did was it helped me understand how to run a program instead of just coaching a team.
Yeah.
And watching Chris Collins, watching Wojo, watching those guys. When those guys left, John came in. And so just being around that level of talent and working with those guys, obviously having a chance to win a national championship with that special group was incredible. And, to have guys like Tatum and Marvin Bagley and Wendell Carter. I mean, we had a lot of guys that were really, really good. And to have a chance to be on that journey with them and watch them, man, was really cool.
What's something that you learned from Coach K that you necessarily didn't learn from him as a player, but as a coach? Something that you got from him?
Yeah, one of the things when you're around him, even when I played, like how intense he was, but how detailed he was working with them. It was awesome. It was great. It was hard, but it was really, really good, man. And just not being afraid to fail, not being afraid to try things. I think one of the things that made him so great was his ability to adapt. He understood that he had to adapt and he had to adjust. Like, I can't remember what year it was, but like we started playing music in practice. I'm like, what in the world is going on here? Like this is good. Like, coach, like, are you all right, man? And so I think that was the biggest thing, watching him do that.
When you got the call to PITT, what made you think that was the job for you after leaving Duke?
Yeah, so it was interesting how it all happened. We were in Nebraska for the Sweet 16, and we were getting ready to play Syracuse, and you have the open practice. And so we're there before the open practice. It's a period where they got the locker room open, where the media is going in there. I'm just standing outside the locker room. And our athletic director, Kevin White, I hadn't seen Kevin in a while because he was the chair of the selection committee. So he was gone. And so I'm standing outside the locker room talking to him. And he's like, what jobs are open? And I'm telling him, I think Louisville's open, but I think Chris Mack's going there. So I'm telling him the jobs that are open. Like Pitt's open. I think Danny Hurley's going to go to UConn. So whatever. So we go out and we go to practice. And we come back. I grab my phone, and I have a message from Dr. White. And he's like, I know you didn't ask me to do this, but I'm friends with the AD at Pitt, and I know they're looking for a coach. And I called her and told her she would be crazy not to hire you. And so she asked for your number. She's going to give you a call. This was Thursday. So Heather called me Thursday evening. We were at dinner with our team. So I grabbed it. I told her I'll call her when I get back. So we talked that night probably for a little bit over an hour. And at the end of that conversation, like she wanted to fly out to Nebraska. And my thing was at that time at Duke, once Wojo left, I did every scout. And so my thing to her was like, look, I'm really interested in the job, but I owe it to coach it to these players to give them my all. So I don't want you to fly out here. She was like, well, what if you win on Friday and we fly out Saturday? And I said, I have every scout, so I would have to get ready for, and I don't remember who Kansas was playing. And so I said to her, like, after I get off the phone with you tonight, I'm not going to talk to you again, but you can talk to my agent, and he knows. And so that was Thursday. We win Friday. Talk to my agent again on Saturday. He tells me that they won't be, and if win or lose, they want to fly to Durham and meet with me on Monday. And so we played Kansas Sunday, lose to them in overtime, fly back, get back super late. And then I met Monday afternoon with Heather, Chancellor Gallagher, Javette Washington, and Krista Spears in a hotel in Durham.
So you take the job, you get to Pitt. What was the biggest thing you had to change when you got there to help build? We were coming through some tough times, some really tough times.
Yeah. It was, my last year at Duke, we played Pitt twice. The first time we played them, we had just lost. And so it was one of those games after you lost where it's like the practices were hell and you're just chomping at the bit to play somebody. So we came up here and we beat them pretty good. But I remember after the game, because I'd watched 5 games and then we played them. And I remember I said to my wife after the game, I think this is the worst team I've ever seen in the ACC. I just didn't think they were very good. And we played them again a couple of weeks later. They had actually gotten better. But and so when I got the job, I knew the talent level wasn't anywhere close to where it needed to be for the ACC. And then when I got here, you get to learn the place. It was interesting because Pitt had just finished their 4th year in the ACC. In those 4 years, I was the 3rd coach, and Heather was the 3rd AD. And so you had a program that just had so much instability. You're in a new neighborhood that you don't know. And so one of the things that was interesting to me, I would go and recruit, and I would be in Pennsylvania, and people had no idea we were in the ACC.
Wow.
And so it was just all of that, man. Like it was just, and like you guys said, like the feeling around the program. It's just I remember talking to the players and the stuff that they would talk about. You know, they weren't allowed to talk to the AD. It was a lot.
Mm-hmm. So Pitt, we have a proud basketball history. How much do you lean into the history when you're recruiting?
Yeah, I lean into it a lot. I mean, again, I know the history. I knew the history before coming to Pitt. I mean, I was a fan of this program from afar.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember when the PITT opened and watching those games and learning and hearing about the Oakland Zoo and seeing it and seeing those really good teams and the toughness and the grit and the pride that this program had, you know, from around 2002 until about 2014, this was as good a program as there was. The only thing the program didn't do was get to a Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. But multiple, I mean, ranked in the top 10 just about every year, multiple Big East championship, multiple number one seeds in the tournament. So you had all of that. That's what attracted me to it because, hey, I knew it could be done. You know, it's just going to take some time.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we got here and, you know, one of the hardest parts was when I was at Duke, I had to get used to how Coach K recruited. We didn't recruit a lot of players. Like, if he wanted this guy, we had to figure out how to get that. We weren't like, okay, we're going to offer 3 point guards. We're going to take the first one. Nah, he wants him.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to get him. So when I took this job, I didn't have a net of players because we were only looking at top 20 guys, really. And it was probably about 3 or 4 of them. And so I had to figure out players. I had to watch a lot, and see stuff. And again, I get here and I realize there's some NCAA stuff. You know, there's some sanctions that we have. And then, you know, just trying to get everything up to par. My thing was I'm coming from, if it's not the best program, it's one of the best in the country. And so I know what elite looks like. And I want to get us back to there. And one of the frustrating things early is like, you know, like there's some resistance to like, hey, this is what we need to do. If you're trying to get back to this, then we got to do X, Y, and Z. And sometimes, you know, they maybe only wanted to do X.
Right.
That was a little frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of recruiting, you recruited at a high level. As we talked about some of the guys you got at VCU and Oklahoma. How different is it now with the NIL and the portal as opposed to how it was then?
It's completely different. In some ways, if you have the resources, it's easier because you don't have to wait. You don't have to recruit a guy for 3 years now. You know what I mean? You don't have to do that. You don't have to, as a sophomore, you build a relationship and things like that. You know, now it's, okay, do you fit? Is there a basketball fit? And if there is, then what's it going to cost? Like, that's really, like, that's the reality of where we are right now. And when you look at rosters, you can kind of see that. Like, if you look at the rosters last year, you know, you can see the haves and have-nots. And so recruiting now is completely different. Completely different.
And like Gary said, it just changes everything, Coach. When you came into college, you had like Grant Hill as your senior, and now you're not going to have guys that seniors on the same team, like you said, that build and been there for a couple years. They transfer and they hitting the portal, so that changes the whole team chemistry.
It changes everything, man. I mean, I played against Tim Duncan for 4 years. Tim Duncan was in college for 4 years.
Right, that's crazy.
Antoine Jameson and Vince Carter for 3 years. I mean, and, you know, the camaraderie and things like that. A guy can have a good year for you, and everything's great, and he may transfer because someone can offer him more money.
Yeah.
And I'm not hating on the guys. Like, hey, man, I'm not hating at all on any of that. But it's just very, very different.
Hey, listen, these two, Gary and Levan say all the time, Blake Henson he was underpaid at Pitt.
Hey, listen, man. Listen to me. So listen. So in this NIL era, you got to understand, we just finished the 4th year of it. So 4 years ago, that team that we only had 3 guys getting paid. Nelly Cummings, John Hughley, and Greg Elliott. Like, that's it.
Wow.
You know, once we got to like February, I told the collective, like, yo, we got to give Blake Henson something. We got to get him back next year. So we got to give him something now to make him feel good. And even that next year, criminally underpaid.
Underpaid
all the time.
I told Jamarius Burton 2 weeks ago, like, thank God he didn't at least test the portal.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what I mean. And so, and so what can happen sometimes is that you can win and you're not spending. And people can think like, okay, well, here's the thing I've learned with the NIL stuff. The players and their parents have become smarter and more hip every year this thing is going on. And so now every kid has an agent. And so yesterday's price, what was it? Fat Joe said it? Yesterday's price ain't today's price. And it changes every year. And every year it's going up. So like you can say, okay, well, we have more money this year. But this whole thing is going up. And so you may have more money, but it still may not be enough.
Right.
And so getting people to try to understand that has been a challenge a little bit.
I was gonna say, what's the balance of building between like high school guys and versus through the portal? Is it like a balance that you try to get a couple high school guys, you want a couple veterans?
Yep, a mixture of both. That's what we want. I mean, the thing that we've tried to do, and when we had turned this thing around 4 years ago and we thought we had it on the right trajectory, the thing that we got, man, are guys that feel like they have something to prove. They have a chip on their shoulder. You know, when I took this job and I got to know Levance, I got to know Ronald, I got to know some of the former players that would come back, I would always ask them questions. And from afar, what I thought of your program was you had guys, man, that like they were really good. They maybe were undervalued, like Brandon, like Sam, like all these guys. I mean, you know, all of you 3 guys. So you all had a chip on your shoulder, and you felt like you had something to prove. When I look at our teams, you know, a couple of years ago, that's what Nelly Cummings had. That's what Nike Sibande had coming back. That's what Blake Henson had. And the other thing is that there was appreciation about being here at Pitt. You know, my first couple of years here, we had some guys that were talented, but after they had a little bit of success, you know, to a certain extent, they acted like they were doing us a favor by them being here. And you can't win that way. And so, you know, we went through a 3-year period besides this year, the previous 3 years, where I thought we were really good. I mean, not this past season, but last year, we were really good until Damian Dunn got hurt. We were a top 25 team when Dame got hurt. And that's where the lack of resources have hurt us. Because the thing we haven't been able to do is to establish depth. Because we get to a point where where we have no more money left. And so then you can only take young guys. So when Dame got hurt, you know, we didn't have the necessary depth and the toughness to be able to sustain that. And then this past season, it was just, you know, how we thought it was going to be from the very beginning with Sean not being able to play, of how we had built. And it was just a litany of things. But the thing that I was grateful for was, man, these dudes kept fighting. They kept battling. They didn't quit. They didn't drop the rope. And because of that, we got better.
I always tell Gary this, that it's about the players and not the coaches, with all due respect. So I think we're doing a great job in the portal, and I think these players that we have now have something to prove.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the thing we've talked to them. Like, look, I understand what we got to fight out of. I get it. Like last year was incredibly disappointing, for me, for all of us, for the fans. I understand that. I get that. The thing that I've said in recruiting, we've been here before. Like 4 years ago, we had a worse record 4 years ago, and we had not won since I'd been here. And we just rolled up our sleeves. We got the right guys, and we went to work. And it led to us having a really, really good season, a special season where we got to the tournament. We won a couple of games. The next year, I thought we were better. I thought we got hosed. I thought we should have made the tournament because I thought that team, especially with how we were playing at the end, because Carrington was really, really going, and obviously Blake, I thought that was a second weekend team, but we didn't make it. And so really like the guys that we've gotten in the portal. They're guys that have something to prove. They're talented. They're older. And we have a mix of a couple of young guys that we're really excited about. And so we're anxious to get to work.
So, obviously y'all said it a little bit, but it was a lot of noise going on around Pitt after this past season. People were mentioning maybe you're going to lose your job or, you need better players. Obviously you end up
Don't
keeping.
say that. I got in trouble for that now.
Oh, so you keep it 100. We said it.
Yeah.
I said it, Coach.
Hey, listen.
Yo, Coach, put that on me. Yeah, put it on me.
So, trouble 4 or 5 years ago.
So,
man, put it on me, Coach.
No. But in all seriousness, obviously you kept your job, but you had to, let some of your staff go. What is your mindset going into this season, and how are you mentally preparing for it?
Great question, and I appreciate it. Last year was really hard. I mean, look, I'm human.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I got feelings. I got a family. I got people that love me. I don't read the stuff. I'm not on social media, so I don't really read it. But I know what's out there.
Mm-hmm.
When you start getting texts like, hey, random, like, keep your head up. I got your back. I appreciate it, but I know something's out there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like you feel it in the PITT. I mean, I felt it in the PITT. You know what I mean? And so I get it. Like it was hard. The thing that I tried to do, just like I did 4 years ago, 5 years ago, whenever it was before we won, my job is to serve the players. That's it. I had my time as a player. I don't want attention. I don't need attention. But I will take it if it takes anything off of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was hard. Honestly, when we played NC State and we lost, I didn't think I was going to have a job, if I'm being completely honest. And so I was a little bit surprised when I got the news. And anxious to get back to work. Now, the stuff afterwards has been difficult because the staff changes were not my decision. And that was hard because there are 3 guys that are really, really good men, good coaches, and had done an unbelievable job for me. And so that was difficult, really difficult. And especially with one of them, because one of them is my family, is like my
Right.
real life brother. But, the thing that I, kind of lean back, like I remember, or I should say lean on, I remember, my father was diagnosed in 2016 with ALS. And in 2017, he had to go to the hospital. He was admitted for pneumonia. And while he was in there, the doctors told him and told us, like, it's not going to be much longer. You can put him in hospice here, or we can do in-home hospice. And so he was in the hospital in Durham. And at that time, man, my dad couldn't speak.
Mm-hmm.
He could, it's ironic, He had a dry erase board. He could write stuff, coach on a dry erase board for running. And so one day I'm sitting there, and this is around October, and my dad couldn't speak, but he could move. He could, and so he had his wedding band on, and all of a sudden he starts tapping the side of the bed with his wedding band, and he's trying to get my attention. So I look at him. When I look at him, he looks at me, and again he can't talk, and he turns. He looks at the clock, and he looks back at me, and I'm like, "What?" And he looks at the clock, looks back at me, and is like this, and he's telling me, "Get your ass to practice." Like, go to practice.
Get out of here.
Okay. And so I tell that story to say this: as difficult as this has been in the off season with these three guys, with Gil, with T.O., and with my brother, I got to keep moving. I can't. I have a job to do. And so with that, that means we lost all the players except for one. So I got to replenish our roster, and we got to get it right. I got to hire coaches. I got to manage the coaches that we have. Some of the guys that are leaving, that are transferring, like I'm trying to help them. Like for me, it ain't no hard feeling. And so I feel really good about everything that we've done in the midst of chaos, because that's what it was. And to get two guys in Ronald Ramon and Ricardo Greer that are really good men, are good coaches, and then for me, kind of the bonus, because that was the thing that stood out to me with them. But the other thing is that they wore this jersey. And so they understand what it means. And I think they will have, I always say this, like I'm the caretaker of the program. I love it. I love it. I love this. If I'm gone, it's still y'all's program. Like it's y'all's program.
Right.
It's the fans, it's the donors, it's them. Like whether I'm here for one more year, whether I'm here for 5 more years, when I'm gone, this thing's still gonna go. Just like when Jamie left, just like when Ben left, whatever. And so just trying to get the right people so you guys can be proud, so the fans can be proud, and so our guys can have a great experience.
Coach, when things don't go right, how do you handle accountability within the program? Like, what do you take on as a coach versus what do you expect out of your players?
Well, for me, and I've been this way since I was a player, I look to me first all the time. How can I be better? What could I have done better? How can I coach these guys better? How can I communicate with them better? How can I get them to understand? My mom was a teacher my whole life. The last 10 years, 12 years of her career, she was an assistant principal. But when she taught in the classroom, she would always say, it's the teacher's job for the students to learn. And you got to figure out how they learn, and you got to teach accordingly. Everyone doesn't learn the same. And so for me, accountability always starts with me. Like this past season was me. And that was one of the things I hated about what happened with the assistants, because it kind of looks like they're a scapegoat, and they're not. Like it was me. It was on me. You know what I mean? And so I have to be better. I have to coach them better. I have to game plan better. I have to strategize better. Like when I say we as a staff, like we have to do a better job.
Once again, Coach, I know you said you're not going to, you got in trouble about saying something about. I think the players we got in the portal is going to fit the offense that you run and the things that you like to do. So I think our sets will look better this year moving forward with them guys in it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I felt bad for last year's team because we never got to be who we thought we were going to be because of injuries. How we prepared all summer and up until September 11th. And all of a sudden, after September 11th, we have to completely change the way that we were going to play and try to figure out a new way. And I thought we were making some progress there. And then throughout the year, we just had injuries. And so now all of a sudden, some of the younger guys that we thought maybe we can bring them along a little bit slower, now all of a sudden they got to jump right into the fire. And it wasn't necessarily fair to them. And so I felt bad for that. I felt guilty for that. Like when the season was over with, and right after the game, I sat down and I talked to him. I was proud of him, man, because with how it was loud this year,
Yeah.
it was way different than it was 4 or 5 years ago. Like it was really loud,
Mm-hmm.
and it bothered them. Like they talked to me about it after we played Louisville. Like they were really messed up, and so trying to get them just to be in the moment and not worry about me. Let's just get better.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was really, really proud of them, man. And like I wish we could have had better guys around Cam Corn. Wish we just could have been healthy, just so he could, do
Mm-hmm.
more. Because I thought, he had a really good year, but for 2 years we didn't win. And he was a guy I thought that was deserving of football.
I've been saying for a while, even with last year's team, and with Levance's, I think Levance is really saying is the thing that we always thought was Pitt need big men. And you mentioned it, September 11th, we lost a big man who was going to be, I think that's what you're saying, but who was going to be a big part of the team. And also what I felt Witherspoon, and I think you could be speaking to him as well, was put in a position where he had to grow up a little too quick. And I say he didn't have a bad year. Like if you would look normally, like he averaged 8 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. It's not bad, but it wasn't, what was expected when he has the keys to the offense.
Yeah.
But
no question.
Yeah. But I say that to say last year's team was last year's team. Like you said, we moving forward. I'm looking forward to what happens in the future with Pitt. We love you as a coach. Me and Levan said all the time, we would love to play for you. Like, and obviously we played for Dixon. Dixon was our coach. We love Dixon, but to be able to play for a guy like you, we would definitely love that. So I'm looking forward to success.
Love to have you guys.
Yeah.
And man, I appreciate you guys, man, seriously, like for keeping it 100 all the time with me and with us. Like I said all the time, man, this is y'all's program.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the caretaker. I want you guys around. I hope you guys know that. I've tried to be that way. I want you guys talking to the guys. I want our guys to know they're part of something bigger than them. And all I want, man, like I'm a Pitt guy now, and I want this program to be really, really good. That's it for you guys, for the players, and for you guys. Not for me. I don't want it. I don't need attention. Whatever. I want this program to be really good.
We appreciate you.
Thanks, Coach, man. We appreciate it, man. We really appreciate you. You always showing us love since you've been there. Like you said, just bringing us in, keeping us a part of everything. Mm-hmm. I think that means the word to me and the rest of my teammates, because you don't have to do that, So
Respect.
That keeps us involved. That's why we so much and passionate about wins and losses. So
yeah, and I
keep us very much in tune as well.
And I got to say this real quick.
Appreciate you, Coach.
I got to say this real quick because it was at a time period at Pitt where we was a little mad with Pitt, right, with the program after Dixon left. Yeah. We wanted B Knight to have a shot at the job, and then the next reign, they didn't bring us in with the program. You came back, you hired Ron, which was great, and then you brought us back to the program. You told Ron, hey, get those guys back here. We want these guys to be a part of what we have going on here. Mm-hmm. So that's another reason why we got so much love for you.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys still wanting to be a part of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, we love it.
Definitely.
We love it.
This concludes another episode of the NIL podcast. Name, image, and legends. We appreciate y'all support. Keep rocking with us, man. Thank you, Coach, for taking the time out to speak with us. And like Gary always say,
like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe, man.
Appreciate you, Coach, man.
We're going to have a good year this year. Thanks, Coach.
All right, fellas.
All right, Coach.
All right, Coach.